Hello and welcome to CodeGrads. Today we will talk about vector databases. Let's start. Today we are diving into fascinating area that is powering a lot of AI magic you see around you. Vector data and vector databases. So what's the big deal with vector data? Well, think about AI, especially modern AI that understands the world. It doesn't see text or images like we do. Instead, often relies on something called vector embeddings. Think of these embeddings as special numerical codes or coordinates of meaning for the data. These codes are amazing because they help machines actually grasp concepts. So Apple the fruit and Apple the company would have different numerical signatures, but there is a catch. We have tons of data that is complex. Your usual database aren't really built for this kind of conceptual high dimensional information. We need to create and handle these embeddings efficiently. This leads us to a big question we will be tackling. How do we effectively manage and query data based on meaning, not just exact keyword matches? Let's stick around because that is what vector databases help us solve. Alright, let's dive deeper and understand vector embeddings. So AI models, often called encoder models, are the artist here. They take complex stuff like a sentence, a picture, or even a sound and turn into unique list of numbers. This list of numbers are called vectors. They are often high dimensional, meaning it can have hundreds or even thousands of numbers. Each number in that vector represents some learned characteristic of original data. The magic is that these vectors capture semantic relationship. It means that the similar meaning or features will have vectors that are mathematically close in a numerical space. Imagine a map where dog and puppy are neighbors, but car is miles away. Now picture doing this for a billions of times, just storing them in one thing, but searching them efficiently for these close neighbors is a huge challenge. That is why efficiently storing and searching potentially billions of these vectors requires specialized solutions. So the puzzle we need to solve is how can we harness the power of this proximity for intelligent search and retrieval at scale. How do we find these neighbors super fast? So we have got these amazing vector embeddings, but they need a special home. Enter the vector database. Think of it as a database built from the ground up, designed exclusively to manage and interrogate vector embeddings. These embeddings are effectively the numerical language AI uses to understand the world. What is its superpower? It enables ultra fast similarity search. This isn't because finding exact matches is about finding the data points based on conceptual closeness or meaning. You can ask it, show me the things that feel like this, or just show me the things that say this exact word. Beyond just speed, it offers vector optimized performance. Plus, it gives you critical database features you would expect, like robust data management, the ability to filter by metadata, scaling for growth and reliability. It is not just search index, it is a full-fledged database optimized for vectors. This brings up a key point. How does specialized design fundamentally differ from traditional data storage and retrieval methods? It is a shift from keyword matching to understanding the meaning. You might be thinking, can't I just use what I already have? Let's explore why specialized databases are often the way to go. First, traditional databases like SQL or many NoSQL ones. They are great for structured data, tables for customer info. But finding similar high dimensional vectors, they are generally too slow and not designed for it. It is like using a hammer to turn a screw, wrong tool for the job. Then you have standalone vector indexes. These are the library or tools that are excellent at creating fast search indexes for vectors. Think of them as powerful engines for similarity search. However, an index by itself often lacks full database features like easy data management, robust metadata, filtering, or built-in high scalability and reliability. Finally comes vector databases. This combines the power of those specialized indexes with broader functionalities of a database, all optimized for vectors. You get the speed and the management capabilities. This is crucial for real world applications. So consider this. How might relying solely on standalone indexes without full database features impact the agility and reliability of production AI application? Think about update complex queries and keeping things running smoothly. When we search for similar vectors, ideally we would find the exact closest ones. But the challenge is with millions or billions of vectors, finding the exact match for every query is super slow. It is often too slow for real-time needs due to something called the curse of dimensionality. More dimensions means exponentially more work for exact same search. So, what's the approach here? We make a smart trade-off, a tiny bit of accuracy for a massive boost in speed. This is approximate nearest neighbor. Basically, ANN search. This technique involves clever algorithms that don't guarantee the absolute closest but find very close neighbors extremely fast. It is about being good enough and incredibly quick rather than perfect and slow. This approximation is a really important concept. It leads to critical question for any AI solution you build. How might the approximation inherent in ANN search impact the perceived quality or user experience in different AI applications? For example, in almost perfect OK or recommending a song versus needing high precision for medical diagnosis. Let's take a quick peek inside vector databases to see how it generally works. The main goal, as we know, is to store vectors and then find similar ones super fast. First up, when you add vectors, is indexing. This is a this is a crucial step where a database builds a special data structure like a smart map for your vectors. This map helps finding neighbors much faster than checking every single vector one by one. It's like recalculating route for navigation is quick later. Next is querying. When a search request comes in, the database uses that index to rapidly find the closest stored vector. This is where fast NN algorithm shines. Then there is an optimal speed. Then there is optimal step, optional step, post processing. After getting initial results, you might re-rank them for better accuracy or apply more filters based on the data. For example, finding similar product then filter by price. Now, think about a system where data is always changing. How might the need for real-time updates influences this workflow? And the choice of underlying data structures. Some maps are easier to update on the fly than others. Let's take a look at first specific ANN technique, random projection. Its main job is simplifying complexity. High dimensional vectors can be bulky and slow to compare directly. The core principle of RP is fascinating. You can project your high dimensional vectors into a smaller or lower dimensional space using random directions. Amazingly, the relative distance and similarity between your original vectors are largely preserved. It is a bit like casting a shadow of a 3D object onto a 2D plane. You lose a dimension but keep the general shape and relationship. A key consideration is that RP is a dimensionality reduction technique. It makes vectors smaller and thus faster to compare. But it is an approximation because some information is lost. It is often a pre-processing step before other ANN methods. So let's consider this. Considering this method relies on approximation, in what type of application might the potential for slight inaccuracies be more acceptable than others? When is in what cases mostly right good enough for squashing your data? Next up is product quantization, a clever trick for vector compression for efficiency. Here is the mechanism in nutshell. First, you take your big vector and chop it into smaller, more equal sized chunks or subvectors. Then, for each slot of subvectors across your dataset, you find a small set of representative prototypes or code words. Think of this as common patterns for each chunk. This form a codebook for each segment. Finally, each original subvector is replaced by the ID of its closest code word from the segment's book. So instead of storing long, precise subvectors, you actually store a short list of these code word IDs. The impact, huge memory savings and faster distance calculation. Like using this compressed data. It is like creating a highly efficient shorthand for your vectors. But there are choices to make, like how many chunks and how many code words. This leads us to a question. How does the granularity of vector segmentation and codebook size influences the balance between search speed and result accuracy for diverse datasets? More detail can be better accuracy, can mean better accuracy, but also more storage and computation. Let's talk about locality sensitive hashing, LSH. The big idea is hashing for proximity. You know how normal hash functions try to make sure even tiny input changes lead to totally different outputs. LSH is opposite of that. It is designed so that similar input vectors are likely to get the same hash value or fall into the same bucket. Not similar items, on the other hand, are likely to go into different buckets. This is also accelerated search. When a query comes in, you hash it and then you only search for neighbors among the items in the same bucket. This drastically cuts down the number of comparisons needed. LSH is speed optimized approximation. It is probabilistic. There is a chance similar items might miss each other or dissimilar ones might collide. Though it is designed to minimize this. It is like smart sorting system where similar items tend to land in the same bin. So here is something to think about. Consider LSH prioritizes speed via probability bucketing. In what scenario might the potential for missing some similar items be acceptable trade-off? When is blazing speed more critical than catching every single possible match? Now, for a very popular and powerful NN algorithm, NHSW, hierarchical navigable small world. NHSW essentially builds a smart map for your vector data. It creates a graph where vectors are nodes and edges connect similar vectors. But it is special kind of graph. It is hierarchical with multiple layers. Top layers are sparse, like highways for quick long distance travel across your data. Lower layers are denser, like local street for precise fine-grained searching. This structure allows efficient navigation. A search starts from top, quickly jumps across highways, then drills down through local streets to find the closest neighbor. HNLW often hits performance sweet spot, offering great speed at high accuracy. The small word part of its name refers to the idea that in many networks, you can get from any point to any point in surprisingly few steps. This layered structure for speed is fantastic, but building these complex graphs takes some upfront effort during indexing. This leads to a particular question. Considering the graph's complexity, what scenarios best justify the upfront effort to building an NHSW index? When is the investment in building this detailed map worth it? We keep saying similar or close, but how do we actually measure what is similar and what is not? A similarity metric is just a mathematical way to score how alike two vectors are, or how similar two vectors are, or a distance metric scores how different they are. One is usually the inverse of the other. There are several common approaches and your choice matters. If we use cosine similarity, it is very popular, especially for text. It measures the angle between the vectors. If they point in the same direction, they are very similar, regardless of their length. If we try to use Euclidean distance, it is a straight line as the crow flies. Distance between vector endpoints. Closer points mean more similar. Then there is also dot product, which is related to both, especially normalized vectors. The impact of your choice is huge. The wrong metric could lead bad similarity judgments. The metric should match what similarity truly means for your specific data and how your embedding were created. So let's ask a key question here. how does the nature of your data, text, maybe text, images, user ratings, and how its embeddings were made guide the choice of what is the most effective similarity measure. It is about direction or absolute distance. Metadata filtering. Finding semantically similar items is good, but often you need more. That is where metadata filtering shines. Metadata is just data about the data. For a vector representation of an article, metadata could be something like publication date, or author, or tag, publication data, author, or maybe tags. For a product vector, it could be a price, brand, or color. Metadata filtering lets you apply conditions on these attributes alongside your similarity search. This enables targeted similarity search. For example, find me a song that sounds like this song but were released in 1980s and or by a female artist. You are combining what it's like, which is a vector search, with what it is, which is a metadata filter. This combination is often called hybrid search. The impact is massive. It makes search results far more relevant and useful in the real world. Good vector databases allow you to efficiently filter before or after the ANN search. So let's think about your own ideas. How might combining semantic similarity with precise metadata filtering change the way users discover information or products in your application? How can you make search both smart and specific? Serverless vector database. Let's talk about a modern way to run these systems. Serverless vector databases. The core principle of serverless here is that you, the developer, don't manage the underlying servers or infrastructure. It is not that there is no servers. It just means you don't have to worry about provisioning, patching, and scaling the servers. The mechanism is that the cloud providers or the database vendors handles all of that for you. When your app needs more power for indexing or queries, the system automatically scales up the resources. When the demand drops down, it scales it down. You typically pay only for what you actually used for database, for storage, compute, and data transfer. The outcome, you get to focus more on building your cool AI features and less on database admin. It often means faster development, easier operation, and potentially lower cost, especially for spiky workloads. This has big implications for cost and effort. So consider it. So consider how might workload adaptive resource scaling change the economics of deploying large AI knowledge bases. Think about not having to guess your peak capacity or pay for ideal servers. So we talked about vector databases, vector embeddings, indexing, retrieval methods, and serverless vector databases. So you must have an understanding of vector databases by now. Thanks for joining.